So we're here at the BT Young Scientist and Technology Exhibition 2018, and I'm joined by one of the guest speakers at this year's event, Kevin Mitnick, who is known as the world's best known hacker, and for good reason, but he now works as a security consultant. He's going to be giving a show a little bit later on today, during which there's going to be a live hack performed, we understand. Kevin, thanks for taking some time to talk to us today. I suppose, first of all, why was it, or can you explain to us how you became the world's best known hacker and why it was that you became wanted by the FBI?
Well, as a young boy, I was fascinated with magic and I liked pulling pranks. So I ended up learning all about the phone system. It was called, a hobby was called phone freaking. And I'd do funny pranks like change my friend's home phone to a payphone, so whenever his parents tried to make a call, it'd say, please deposit 25 cents. So as the phone company became more computerized in the United States, I wanted to gain access to the phone company's computer systems to pull pranks. And this is kind of how I started with hacking, was really my love of magic and my interest in telephone technologies. And then later on in life, I decided to hack into a lot of the major cell phone companies, kind of to get the trophy. The trophy was the source code to the handset, right? And what that ended up doing was making me a priority for the FBI, and then the FBI was chasing me. It was kind of like this cat and mouse game for several years, and when they finally caught me, they made me an example. So my hacking wasn't about making money, it was all about the intellectual curiosity, the seduction of adventure, and the pursuit of knowledge. But don't forget, this is 20 years ago. So a lot about hacking has changed in the last 20 years.
So you've left, I guess, the illegal side of hacking behind. You're now doing it legally, so to speak, advising people and helping people to prevent hacking of their networks. Where in 2018 is the biggest threat coming from, do you think?
Well, it's the human factor threat of people that work and operate computers, of them being fooled into doing something on their computer system or revealing information that lets the bad guy in. You have IoT, which is the Internet of Things, where everything is becoming smart. Your smart refrigerator, your smart radio, internet, and it's internet connected, which potentially creates vulnerability. And everything's evolving around thinking machines, artificial intelligence, and every time technology makes things better and becomes more complex because it's more interoperable, then that creates vulnerability. Because don't forget, all this stuff is code, is programming instructions that developers actually write, and people make mistakes. So what security researchers do and hackers do is they find those mistakes so they can exploit them.
But we have never had as many security firms and consultants in the world as we do right now, and yet the threat seems to be higher than ever. How do people protect themselves?
Well, it's quite difficult. Well, first of all, it's really hard to find skilled security people these days. There's a real shortage of it. But as a consumer, you could do three things to protect yourself. You could use a password manager, rather than trying to create your own password in your mind's eye and use it so it's random. You could use a VPN service whenever you're using Open Wireless Networks. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And you could Google this and you could sign up for these services for like $60 a year. Pretty cheap. What that does is it creates an encrypted connection between your devices and the VPN provider. You could use an extension in your browser called HTTPS Everywhere. But for financial things, because a lot of people use one computer to do everything, if you really want to protect your bank accounts, your credit cards, your brokerage accounts, go buy a Google Chromebook or an iPad Pro, and you only use that device for your finance. You don't use your main computer, right? And you never store your passwords or your credentials for your financial accounts on your main computer, but only on the Chromebook or iPad Pro. And that would make it extremely difficult for a threat actor to get access to your financial accounts.
On a bigger scale, how worried are you, and how worried should we all be about the threat of cyber terrorism? We haven't really had a big, large-scale cyber terrorism attack yet, but how imminent do you think it is?
Well, I'm more concerned about cyber espionage. So we're dealing with foreign or nation states being able to spy, being able to essentially break into our cellular networks and our communication networks and monitor our communications. That I consider a clear and present danger because it's happening. As far as cyber terrorism, I haven't seen it used to date.
And what about this issue of hacking into elections and that kind of thing within your own country. Obviously, a lot of focus on Russians and the influence they had on your last presidential election. I mean, do you buy into that?
I believe so. I believe that at least the Russians ran a lot of operations on social networks to change people's opinions about certain types of subjects, how the Russians intercepted, essentially broke into the email of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, incidentally using the same type of hacker techniques that I'm going to show here today later on in my keynote, which is essentially social engineering. All this stuff was very real and did affect the US election. So it's actually a clear and present danger.
How up to speed are people who are working in the security industry with what's really going on? I mean, we always hear that hackers are at least one, if not two steps ahead. I mean, are people working in the industry way out of touch?
No, people that are working in the industry are extremely intelligent, and we have some of the best security researchers that are finding the security vulnerabilities before the bad guys do. They're reporting it to the vendors so they fix the problems.